Nobody likes you. You're such a loser. Nobody's gonna like this. What are you thinking? Nobody likes you. Hear about that. You that was fail. You're a joke. Nobody's gonna like everybody. It's gonna be so fucking. Just fucking stop. What's up, everybody? Mark Manson here. If you happen to be human, sentient, conscious, and have a sense of self, then you probably suffer from negative thinking. Yeah, we all do. We all have negative thoughts, and most people want to know how to get rid of them. So in this video, I'm going to focus on the 3 steps that can help you reduce the negative thinking in your life and achieve more of your goals. So step number 1, accept that failure is a natural part of life. We often forget that failure is just this thing that we make up in our head. It's like we decide in our brain that like, this is what's gonna happen, and then if it doesn't quite happen, we decide that we failed and we get very upset about it, completely forgetting that we just arbitrarily chose this thing to happen. Your definition of failure is almost always self-invented. If you decide that you need $50,000 to be happy, then $40,000 will feel like a failure. But if you decide that $40,000 is necessary to make you happy, then suddenly you're a success. Like that, it's a completely made up, arbitrary goal line that you've created for yourself. Now, we do this in all areas of life. We do it with money, profession, decide that we need to have the corner office to be a success. Then we get the corner office and that doesn't feel successful enough. And so then we feel like a failure, like we didn't do it right. We decide that we need to have a certain number of friends or be dating somebody really attractive or else we're a failure. But again, that's just a thing we made up in our head. So it makes us feel like a loser. So nobody wants to date us. We get caught in these spirals of our own making all the time. It's really important to back up and understand the game that your brain is playing with yourself. If you're a person who suffers from a lot of negative thinking, I think the most important thing to do when you're starting out is to just realize that nothing is ever as good in the real world as it is in your head. Even if you achieve all of your goals, achieve all your dreams, reach all the endpoints, save the princess, defeat the dragon, it's not gonna feel as good as you think it does. There are gonna be problems with it. There are gonna be shortcomings. There are gonna be things that you could have done better. There are gonna be things that didn't go the way you expected them to go. If you hold yourself to that mental standard you invented for yourself, that fantasy that you created in your own mind, you are going to drive yourself insane. You're gonna be fucking miserable all the time. You're gonna be one of those like super successful people who hates their fucking life. So the first thing to understand is to hold those images in your mind a little bit more loosely. Nothing ever turns out quite as good as we expect, but nothing is ever really as bad as we think it is either. Our mind has a tendency to exaggerate and to amplify certain feelings or expectations, and it's good to remember once in a while that you're full of shit, as is everyone else. Step number 2, practice self-forgiveness. So look, you realize that, you bumble and fuck things up like everybody else does, but I think a difference between people who suffer from their negative thoughts and people who just have some negative thoughts and then move on with their life is the ability to let go of those judgments of yourself. That ability to realize like, hey, okay, maybe I didn't make the corner office, but that doesn't mean I'm a bad person. I can still be a good father or husband or wife or whatever. The failure to achieve any particular goal is not a referendum on your value as a human being. So learning to forgive yourself for your mistakes and your failures is a necessary component of getting good at managing negative thoughts. So how do we actually go about forgiving ourselves or forgiving other people? Well, the first thing is to separate the action from the intention. 99% of the time when people do stupid or fucked up stuff, they actually thought they were doing something good or they intended to do something good. So look for the intention instead of just focusing on the action. There's that old saying that says, hate the sin, love the sinner. Well, separate the sinner from the sin. Separate the mistake maker from the mistake. We all make mistakes, but we're all generally trying to do good and useful things in the world. So focus on that intention. Once you're able to focus on your intention, try to understand the motivation. Why did you think that that was gonna be a good idea? Why did you think that that was a good use of your time? How did you think that that was gonna turn out? Once you're able to see that motivation for the shitty behavior, try to empathize with it. Try to understand like, hey, I didn't know better back then. I was kind of a moron, and that's okay. because we're all morons sometimes. And we all do things that don't work out, and we all unintentionally hurt people sometimes, or say things we don't mean, or come short of our goals and expectations. Like, this happens all the time. And then to really, really derive some value from that failure, or forgiving yourself for that failure, draw a lesson from it. Ask yourself, what can be learned by this intention that failed in action? What could I do better next time? What will prevent me from doing something so stupid next time? And really take that lesson to heart. Understanding the intention and the motivation and empathizing with the motivation and everything, that takes the sharpness off the pain of fucking up. But it's really the lesson that turns that fuck up into something beneficial for you. And so if you get good at this, if you actually like kind of train your brain to do this automatically, anytime you fail or fuck up in your life, you'll actually start to realize that failures are good. Failures are helpful. Messing stuff up and saying the wrong thing and doing the wrong thing, it makes you a better person. You actually get to this weird point where you start like kind of secretly enjoying your failures. You look back wistfully and be like, when I was a wee lad, I used to fuck everything up on the internet, and here I am today, so much better for it. Because look, I mean, I know you, like, hold on, time out. I know you came to this video because you thought you were gonna stop negative thoughts. You were gonna stop having negative thinking or stop judging yourself or others. Let me just like clear the air here with the harsh truth of the day. The harsh truth of the day is you will never stop having negative thoughts. It's impossible. Not only will you never stop having negative thoughts, but you don't wanna stop having negative thoughts. Negative thoughts are fucking useful. They help you correct your mistakes. They help you change your actions. They help you become a better person. The problem isn't having negative thoughts, it's learning to deal with your negative thoughts. And so that's why it's so important to accept that failures will inevitably happen. Learn how to forgive yourself when they happen. Learn from those failures when they happen. And then finally, step three is don't judge your negative thoughts with more negative thoughts. This is the problem that so many people get into. They decide like, oh man, I'm so insecure, I shouldn't be insecure. And then they become insecure about being insecure. They become anxious about being anxious. And then they get anxious because they realize they're even more anxious. And then they're even more fucking anxious. And then it's just this fucking spiral that never ends. The only way to break out of that is to simply not judge negative thoughts negatively. To understand like, hey, anxiety happens. I'm human, that's normal. Everybody experiences it too. Or, yeah, I fucked up. I could do that better. Maybe I'll do it better next time. Simply being okay with these negative thoughts and negative emotions occasionally. You know, it's so much of my work in my books and in my articles on my website, I write how our culture of positive thinking, this kind of delusional level of positive thinking is backfiring on people. It's creating unrealistic expectations of success. So people get even more upset over stupider and stupider things. It creates this false expectation that you should be happy all the time. And if you're not, then something's wrong with you. This is just simply not true. We have to get more comfortable with the negative as a culture. You can disagree with somebody without hating them. You can fuck up a project without being a loser. You can fail to achieve a goal and not be a failure. These are all natural parts of life. They are important parts of life because they are actually the things that make us better as people. So if you ignore the negative, you lose the positive. So learn to embrace the negative. Learn to become comfortable with your negative thoughts. Understand that they are not a judgment on your character as a human being. And you know, maybe you won't be so fucking miserable all the time. So yeah, like and subscribe. That'll make you less miserable. And leave a comment if there's a particular negative thought that you find yourself consistently struggling with. So that's it from me. I will catch you kids next time. This is Mark Manson. Until the next video.